What was some of the culture like growing up in Trinidad, and how did this inspire the story of Mother Dora, the Obeah Woman, in your book?
Well, my life was around Obeah women, my grandmother and my aunt. And I learned a lot from them on how to do Obeah. I learned about the plants and what they do. And one of my favorite plants is the St. John bush. It's a cleansing plant, and it turns blood red when you boil it.
1, 2, 3.
So that was one of my favorite that I learned from my aunt.
The Obeah Woman by Anastasia A Armourer. Chapter 7. Earlier that morning, Detective Lazar walked into the police station. It was Monday, and he was not looking forward to dealing with the American FBI agents who had arrived on Saturday. They had gotten off to a bad start, and Lazar was happy to spend Sunday away from them. He walked into his office to find Agent McLean sitting at his desk, going through his files. This was the last straw for Lazar. He tried very hard not to show his anger. McLean looked up at him with the same arrogant look on his face. "Well, Detective Lazar, I would say that it's about time we got going on this investigation. I am appalled that you have absolutely no clue as to who has committed these murders, and please, don't tell me it was the devil that did it. Now you just hold your horses here, sir. First of all, you don't know what you're dealing with here. And apparently, neither do you," he interrupted Lazar. "Secondly, this is my office, and I don't appreciate coming in here and finding you at my desk, going through my files," Lazar shouted. "You are supposed to give me full cooperation so that I can solve this case and go home," McLean shouted back. "Oh yeah, well, you're supposed to be here to assist me, not run the whole damn show." "Oh yeah?" McLean stood to his feet. "Yeah." Lazar had walked up to him behind the desk, and the two men were up in each other's faces. Suddenly, another man entered the office. Gentlemen, please. There is no need for this." It was the police chief. He had just walked in on the whole mess. "Now, it is most important that we work together as a team, if we are going to solve this case. So, Detective Lazar, I would like you to give Agent McLean your full cooperation," he said sternly. "Yes, sir," said Lazar, still glaring at McLean. The two men moved away from each other, and Lazar sat down at his desk as though he was reclaiming his territory. McLean walked over to the chief of police in his usual arrogant style. "Chief Evans, I must tell you that I am going to have to start from scratch on this. My partner, Agent Hansen, is presently at the morgue examining the bodies. Now, I don't know how much of the evidence have already been destroyed, but at least we are here now." "Yes, of course, you must do what you think is best, Agent McLean. We want all Americans to feel safe when they come to visit our beautiful island. I am sure that together, we can solve these heinous crimes." The chief smiled as he left the office, leaving the two men to work things out between themselves. McLean sat in the chair next to Lazar's desk. "Okay, Lazar, why don't you tell me about these devil people you mentioned on Saturday?" Lazar looked up from his desk at McLean, trying very hard to keep his temper under control. "The Bakwas are unlike anything you have ever known. I myself don't know all that much about them, but what I do know, I will tell you. They are the lowest form of human life there is. They are Satanists and cannibals. They have tremendous spiritual powers, and appear to be normal everyday people. It is said that some of them have the power to remove the human brain without injuring the body. You don't really believe that there are people eating human flesh in this day and age, do you?" McLean was leaning forward in his chair with a smile on his face. "As I said before, the person to talk to about this is Mother Dora. She can tell us all about these people." You mean your friend, the psychic? She is not just a psychic. She has psychic powers, yes, but she is much, much more. Okay, Lazar. I'll buy it for now. Let's go see her. You can't just go see her. Why not? Asked McLean, standing to his feet. Don't you know where she lives? Yes, I do, and I will be happy to take you there, Lazar said, smiling for the first time. Lazar drove McLean to Simeon Road. They turned up the dirt road and drove slowly towards the house of Mother Dora. Why is the road unpaved? Asked McLean as the car bounced up and down over the large rocks and into the large potholes. It is unpaved because the city workers refuse to come out here to pave it. What? Why? Asked McLean, quite astonished. Oh, they have their reasons. Lazar smiled again as he parked the car to the far side of the road from Dora's front gate. Is this it? Asked McLean as he got out of the car. Yep, answered Lazar, getting out behind him. McLean stood in awe as he looked at Dora's house. My God! What a beautiful house! I didn't expect to see anything like this on this island. Oh, we have many beautiful homes here. We stopped living in mud huts a long time ago, Lazar said cynically. Well, let's go and knock on the door. Not us, pal, just you. I'm staying right here. Lazar folded his arms and leaned against the car. Oh, you island people are so damn superstitious, Lazar. It's just plain stupid. McLean snarled and walked over to the gate, extending his hand out to open it. Before he knew what was happening, a bolt of electricity ran through his body and sent him flying backwards about 10 feet. Lazar did not move. He stood there leaning against the car with his arms folded in front of him with a large grin on his face. You could have told me that the fence was wired, McLean shouted, as he picked himself up off of the ground. That's a wooden fence, it's not wired, Lazar said calmly, still grinning from ear to ear. McLean stared at the wooden gate in disbelief. What the hell is going on here? That gate shocked me. You saw it. It threw me flat on my ass. Why don't you try throwing a small rock over the gate into the yard? Lazar suggested, still leaning against the car. McLean hesitated for a moment, and then looked around on the ground for a small rock. He found one about the size of a golf ball near Lazar's feet. He picked it up, took aim, and threw it about 6 feet above the gate. The rock exploded like a firecracker in mid-air. McLean staggered backwards and fell on his ass again in shock. He couldn't believe it. Did you see that? He asked Lazar, who was still standing in the same place. That is impossible. Impossible. McLean got up and walked over to investigate the fence. I wouldn't get too close if I were you, warned Lazar. It's some kind of electrical force field, that's all. You know, like Star Trek. McLean inched closer and closer to the fence, trying to see where the wires were. He had gotten about 2 feet away from the fence when the vines left the fence and wrapped themselves around his feet. McLean screamed and scrambled to move away from the strong vines, as more of them wrapped around his legs and body. Lazar opened the trunk of the car, took out a machete, and ran to help McLean. He chopped the vines from a hysterical McLean, freeing him. As Lazar was helping him back to the car, the large cherry tree near the fence in Dora's yard started shooting its fruit at them. The cherries hit them like bullets from out of a gun. They scrambled into the car and rolled up the windows. Lazar swung the car around and took off down the dirt road. The tree pelted them with its fruit as they drove away. They drove all the way back to the police station without saying a word. Lazar parked the car, and both sat there in silence looking at the cherries on the windshield and on the windows. McLean was so frightened, his hands shook a mile a minute as he pulled the vines from around his waist and legs. Finally, Lazar said, I'm sure glad that Mother Dora didn't plant a mango tree instead of that cherry tree, or we would be dead, and that would really have been so damn stupid." With those words, Lazar exited the car, leaving the great FBI agent sitting there, licking the wounds of his pride like a frightened puppy. Dora returned home in the afternoon to find Sandra and Angela seated at the long table under the shed, shelling pigeon peas. "Hello, Tanty. We are going to have pigeon peas and rice with chicken for dinner." Angela was all smiles as she shelled the peas into a large bowl. "I see you're enjoying your day off from school today, but tomorrow Sandra will take you to school and she will pick you up in the afternoon. You must wait for her. Don't try to walk home alone, okay?" "Yes, Tanty, I will wait for Sandra." "How are we doing today, Sandra?" Dora asked. "Oh, we are doing just fine, Mother. Angela was a big help to me today." "That's wonderful. I have some things I must take care of, and so I will be in my study for a while." "Yes, Mother, I will be starting dinner soon." Dora smiled and left them at their task. As she walked into the house, she could think only of Red Claw. She must find a way to help him. How did he become a canker vampire? This type of vampire is very rare. He does not drink blood. Instead, a creature develops in his throat attached to his spine. When the vampire attacks his victim, the creature protrudes from the mouth, bearing a hole at the base of the victim's skull and drains out all of the fluid that surrounds the brain and the spinal column. The vampire then gains a great deal of brain power. He can do things he couldn't possibly do in the past. He becomes unbelievably strong with ever-increasing brain capability. He is even able to read the minds of others. Added to these new abilities, he obtains the bonus of immortality. Dora searched through her books for hours looking for anything that could cure Red Claw. Finally, she came across an old book about ancient Egyptian magic. In it, she found references to the Eye of Ra, a stone so powerful that it can not only cure any disease, it was said to have the power to restore life to a dead body. The stone was last known to be in the possession of the overlord known as Samuel the Black. He is a dark overlord in charge of many legions of demons and very dark spirits. Dora had no idea how she was going to get the stone. All she knew was that she had to have it if she was going to save Red Claw. Dora had not realized how much time had gone by until she became aware that Shanka was running up the dirt road to her house. Dora left her study, and walked out to her front gate to meet him. She knew something was very wrong by the way the man came running towards her. By the time he got to the gate he was out of breath and panting loudly. "What is it? What's wrong, Shanka?" Dora asked, as she opened her gate to meet him. She could see how upset the man was. His face was wet with tears, and as he reached out to Dora, his hands were as cold as ice. "My son, Mother. Kokaka has taken my son. Jesse is gone. We can't find him anywhere." Shanka was panting and weeping bitterly. "It will be all right, Shanka. It will be all right." Dora supported Shanka's body as she led him up the path and into the house. "Sandra, please bring me some water," Dora called out as she placed Shanka in a chair in the living room. Sandra rushed in with a glass of water and handed it to Shanka. The man drank all of it quickly, and then leaned back in the chair to catch his breath. "What happened, Shanka?" Dora asked as she removed the glass from his hand. "I came home about an hour ago. Edna told me you were there looking for me earlier. I realized that Jesse was not there, so I asked her where he was. She told me that he was next door playing, so I immediately went next door to get him. However, they told me that he had left for home about an hour ago. So, I called to him, and we searched everywhere, but couldn't find him anywhere. I finally realized that Kokaka must have taken him. What am I going to do, Mother? She has my son. I know it. It will be all right, Shanka. I will take you home now, and then I will find Jesse." Dora took Shanka by the hand and led him out back to her truck. She then drove him home. Dora could feel the cold breath of fear as she stepped out of her truck in front of Shanka's house. Edna stood in the doorway as she walked up the stairs to the house. "Oh, Mother Dora, so glad you're come. We can't find Jesse anywhere. We look all over the place and we can't find him. Please help us, Mother." Dora walked over to Gloria, who was sitting in a chair weeping. "My baby is gone, Mother. He's gone." Gloria sobbed into a small towel. Dora took the young woman's hands and held them gently. "Do you trust me, Gloria?" she asked, looking deep into her eyes. "Yes, Mother. I trust you more than I trust myself or anyone else." "Then weep no more. I promise you on my own life that I will bring him back to you alive and well. Do you believe this?" "Yes, Mother. If anyone can bring him back, I believe you can." Dora embraced the beautiful young woman. "Now I'm going to find Jesse. Try not to upset yourself too much. I will not return until I have him." Gloria smiled at Dora and embraced her again. She knew that this Obeah woman's word was her bond, and it was better than gold. Dora left Shanka's house. She knew she must first find out where his son was taken. She returned to her home and went into her garden. At the back of her house there was a small waterfall about 12 feet high, and below it, a small dark pond. Dora knelt beside the pond and looked into the dark waters. She called to the spirit of the waters. "Spirit of the waters, producer of life, replenisher of the land and destroyer of uncleanliness. I ask for your help, show me the child Jesse, son of Shanka." Suddenly the water became still, as smooth as glass. Then Dora could see Jesse. He was sitting on the bare ground of a cave, weeping. Around him were 2 large demons. The child was cold and very frightened. Dora recognized the place. It was a swamp near the San Fernando Valley. "Thank you, Spirit of the Water, for your aid." Dora reaching into her pocket and took out a small coin and threw it into the water. She went into the house and readied herself for a long trip. She packed all that she needed into a large bag. She said goodbye to Angela and Sandra, and got into her truck and left for San Fernando.